Okay, we're going to do one more time here. And then come up with me up front. One more time. Thank you. So, here we go. Aurora Levins Morales writes, say these words when you lie down and when you rise up, when you go out and when you return, in times of mourning and in times of joy. Inscribe them on your doorposts, embroider them on your garments, tattoo them on your shoulders. Teach them to your children, your neighbors, your enemies. Recite them in your sleep. Another world is possible. Another world is possible. When you inhale and when you exhale, breathe the possibility of another world into the 37.2 trillion cells of your body until it shines with hope, and then imagine more.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to First Parish Church of Groton. My name is Emma Rose Morella, and my pronouns are she, her. We are a community seeking to deepen spiritually, to take care of one another, and to be a blessing to the world. Unitarian Universalism is a faith for all. So bring all of who you are, all of your beliefs, identities, abilities, challenges, and gifts. Bring all of what you've been and all of what you've done. There is room here for all of it. Our congregation includes a wide diversity of beliefs. I invite you to freely translate the language you hear today. If you are visiting us for the first time today, whether you are here in person or online, we're really glad that you found us. If you would like more information, please email us at welcome@uugroton.org. We are not concerned about noise during the service, and we hope you won't be either. However, the service is broadcast several places downstairs if anyone needs to take a break. The soft pouches in each pew have quiet toys in them, and there are 2 nurseries with toys through the door by the high pulpit, and you are welcome to take kids there as well. We do have religious education today, and we will sing the kids downstairs in a little while. There is a small masks required section in the back parking lot side for those who prefer to sit with other masked people. And please know we have a very effective air filtration system running. We are once again hosting virtual church gatherings on Zoom at 7 p.m. on Sunday evenings. All are welcome. If you need the link, email us at welcome@uugroton.org. Special thanks to Melissa Wood, who is filming this morning, and to our cantor, Lisa Martino. Sarah Iacobucci and John Frechette are ushering today. They have large print lyric sheets and assisted listening devices. If you need anything during the service, they will be happy to help. A few announcements. The flowers this morning are from Sue and Bob Lotz in support of our beloved democracy. Please join us for our Black Lives Matter Vigil today and every Sunday at 11:30 a.m. on Main Street in front of the church. All are welcome to come to coffee hour in the vestry, which is the big room beneath us, after the service. Aaliyah and I will greet you there. Thank you to the Welcoming Committee for making this happen, and please support them with offers to help. During coffee hour is part 1 of our annual committee fair. Some of our committees are described in the insert in your order of service. They will have someone downstairs who would love to chat with you about the work of our congregation. If you've ever wondered about the myriad of large and small projects the building and grounds team works on, or how the finance committee prepares the annual budget, you can grab a cup of coffee, buy a treat from the already bake sale, and join us in the vestry today and next week to chat with the many folks who help make First Parish a vibrant and dynamic community. Learn about their many contributions, and please consider lending your skills and talents to one of the teams. Additionally, for the bake sale, you can pay with cash, or you can use the QR code to pay that way as well in case you didn't bring cash. And the older RE group has an announcement. Is Michael Preston ready to come up?
Hi everybody.
Hi.
The RE kids will be having a bake sale on November 6th, which is today, and the 13th, to support the situation that's happening in Florida and Ukraine. It will be after coffee hour, if you were wondering.
Thank you. And finally, the youth have an announcement. So Sophie Clark.
First Parish Youth will be participating in City Reach on December 2nd and 3rd. We will be collecting clothes and personal care items to distribute to homeless men and women as a part of the program. A list of needed items will be found in your order of service. Donations are needed on November 19th so they can be sorted. A collection box will be placed downstairs for donations. Thank you for your support.
We have learned through the pandemic that our sanctuary is not this room or any place at all. Sanctuary is what we create together. Please come in and rest for a while. You are welcome here. Please take a second to wave to the camera and say hi to the virtual congregation, and let's stand as able and take a moment to greet one another.
The three bells at the start of worship invite us to settle into our bodies more fully. They remind us that we are whole and we belong wholly upon this earth, and we are held in love. So with each breath and bell, I invite you to breathe in and out. And in addition, or instead, you might tighten your hand into a fist and open it, or close your eyes and then open them, a small gesture of opening to let the blessings come. So this first bell is for you. The second bell is for for all of your loved ones. And the third bell is for this aching, beautiful world.
If you are with us remotely, I invite you to get a candle or chalice and light it as we light our common chalice in the meeting house. The idea of the flaming chalice grew from the Unitarian Service Committee's brave and dangerous work during the Second World War, helping to smuggle Jews and other persecuted peoples out of Europe. It is a symbol of trust and courage and resistance to oppression and tyranny. Suzanne Nelson will light the chalice this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just found out 20 minutes ago that I'm lighting the chalice. When Aaliyah hands you 2 pieces of paper and says, read this, read this. This poem is called Prayer Ballad by Luke Stevens Royer. I walk in as on pilgrimage. The altar cloths are red, white, and blue. The ushers are the women who have been running these things, who have been running everything since before I was born. I'm handed the ballot like a scroll, because the questions seem that important, ancient and modern, of what my God and country ask of me. Who? Who for commissioner, mayor, president? Who for District 8, Ward 7, school board? Who will do justice, love mercy, and war for me? I make my mark with at least a shred of hope that something good will come from this. And regardless, I remember, the world won't be destroyed entirely by this. The world won't be saved entirely by this. Marking my vote is like a prayer, because neither will accomplish anything right away, but the purpose of both is to remind me of my deepest hope for the world that I'm trying to help create. So I rise from prayer and turn in my ballot. And again, I step to the task that is mine. Justice, mercy, humble service in my small corner of the world. I light the chalice today for the love needed to change the world.
Each Sunday morning, we light a peace candle to remind us that Ukraine is still at war, as are Myanmar, Libya, and Syria, and there is violence in many places around the globe. On this Sunday before Election Day, we also light the peace candle for our own democracy and for peaceful, fair elections. So I do need a youth to come light the peace candle. Come on up. please join us in singing Carolyn McDade's song, Spirit of Life. We sing it first in Spanish, translated by Reverend Lilia Cuervo and Irvin Berrios, and then in English.
We also need a book holder. Rose, will you be our book holder? Oh, okay. Thank you. And as Emma and I read, you can show the picture. So first, hi Amelia. Hi Toby. Hi Finn. It's so nice to see all of you. Good morning. Okay, so let's first do our words, say our words for gathering, and do the hand motions together, okay? We are Unitarian Universalists with minds that think, hearts that love, and hands ready to help. Excellent. So today's story is about imagination and what happens when your imagination gets broken. Yes, Finn.
Stop imagining things and your mind's just stuck.
Yes, Finn said when your imagination gets broken, you stop imagining things and your mind just gets stuck. That's exactly what happens. So this is another story with Hoot and Owl because I love them. It's called Imagine That. It's by Jonathan D. Voss. So Emma's going to read with me and Rose is going to show us the pictures. Olive had a great big imagination, which was only just a smidge smaller than her huge heart. Her best friend Hoot had a heart that was equally big. His imagination, however, well, one rainy day, Hoot discovered something unexpected. Olive tugged on Hoot's wing. Let's go on a pretend adventure. Rainy days are perfect for that. Hoot agreed, but in the very moment he tried to imagine something magnificent, he imagined nothing at all.
I lost it, said Hoot.
Lost what? Asked Olive.
My imagination, and I can't remember where I had it last.
And then he got an even more upsetting idea.
Or maybe my imaginator is broken.
His imaginator is broken. I don't think it works like that, said Olive, but if it is broken, we should try to fix it.
How? Asked Hoot.
Olive was puzzled. Actually, I don't know. I just pretend something is, even though it really isn't. Do any of you ever pretend something is? Yes, Amelia does. I bet a lot of you do. Just then, the rain began to beat harder against the window. I know, she said, what if the water gets higher than just a little and the puddles grow really big? Olive felt the house lurch as she imagined it. Hoot, do you feel that? We're floating away. But Hoot felt nothing.
It's only a puddle, he said sadly, looking out the window. A puddle isn't a very good adventure.
Then Olive got another idea. She got a Costa strainer and untwisted a wire hanger and attached the wires to the strainer and plopped it on Hoot's head.
It looks like an antenna, said Hoot.
It is an antenna, said Olive. Your head must be all scrambly. That's why your imagination isn't working.
How clever, said Hoot. A head unscrambler.
Olive led Hoot into a room full of shadows. She gasped. Do you see that in the corner? A giant, she whispered.
But Hoot saw nothing. Maybe I blinked, he said.
Or maybe it's worse than I thought, said Olive. So Olive tried earmuffs for your leaky ears, because maybe that's how your imagination is escaping. They stepped into the
That's not how
dark.
it works.
That's not how it works. They stepped into the dark. Something fluttered. Olive froze. Do you hear that? Fairies.
Yay!
But Hoot heard nothing.
These ear mufflers might keep my insides from coming out, but I can't hear anything with them on.
So Olive tried something sleepy, and then something upside down, and then 1 or perhaps 10 other somethings, but nothing worked.
Maybe I can't be fixed, said Hoot.
Well, maybe you're not really trying, said Olive. Yes.
Like, maybe, you just have to open his mind a little more and see a lot of other things.
Maybe he does just have to open his mind a little more and he doesn't know how. It was quiet for a long, sad time. Finally, in a small voice, Hoot spoke.
Why is it when my imagination is the thing that's broken, it's my heart that hurts the most?
That's it, said Olive. She'd forgotten the most important part. You have to imagine with this. And she placed her hand gently over Hoot's heart.
Should I try again? Asked Hoot.
You should always try again, said Olive. So Hoot closed his eyes.
I see something, but it's so small, said Hoot. Just one little flower.
Small is how everything starts, said Olive. If you want it to grow, you have to love it.
So Hoot imagined again with his whole huge heart, and there they were in a beautiful, blooming garden.
But that was only the beginning. When the clouds broke and the world sparkled in the sun, Hoot and Olive's imagination spilled onto everything. They sailed to far-off places, they saw magnificent things, they built castles and tamed dragons, they were heroes and kings, and they played until they were too tired.
Thank you, said Hoot,
Thank you for what? Asked Olive.
for showing me the most important part. What should we imagine tomorrow?
We could be pirates. Yes, Amelia.
You can also pretend to be gardeners.
Yes, you could imagine being gardeners or pirates searching for treasure.
That's an extra good idea, said Hoot. Do you think we could also imagine being friends forever?
Yes, and they did. They imagined it all, and so much more, both of them together.
Stringer looked like a column.
The end. I was like,
Thank you, Rose.
so we are going to sing the children and volunteers to religious education downstairs. The words are in your order of service, and Cynthia is going to come get our little chalice to bring downstairs.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into this world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace. Oh, river, rewild my soul. Help me let go of control. Show my heart how to flow with ease again. I am ready. Take me in. Oh, mountain, rewild my soul. Help me let go of control. Show my heart to lift me up again. I am ready. Take me in. Oh, vast sky, rewild my soul. Help me let go of control. Show my heart how to open wide again. I am ready. Take me in.
So I invite you into a time of stillness. Let us pray together. Aurora Levins Morales writes, say these words when you lie down, when you rise up, when you go out, when you return. In times of mourning and joy, inscribe them on your doorposts. Tattoo them on your shoulders. Teach them to your children. Recite them in your sleep. Another world is possible. Let us rest here together on this new morning and feel the breath of the Spirit moving inside of us and among us as we create this time of sanctuary. It is a new day. And our work to imagine the possibility of another world, to breathe the possibility of another world begins again. So let's take some time now to be grateful for the beauty of the trees, for an extra hour of sleep, for children who clap, for everything. for the faces of the ones we love, for the strong community where our joy and our sorrow, our living and our dying are held in tenderness. And let us pray for all who are in need, for all who are broken-hearted. Today we hold in prayer and love Donna, who's recovering from pneumonia, Kara, Caitlin, Abby, and Adrian, who celebrated Jackie's life here yesterday on her 28th birthday. Let us hold in love Doris and Alan and Patty on the death of David, Steve and Gail, Jen and Scott, as today was Dale Martin's birthday. We pray for Helen's upcoming surgery and for all whose grief is still new. Let us pray together in hope for a free and fair and peaceful election, and that this beautiful experiment in American democracy continues. And let us pray for ourselves to remember that the work of justice and mercy and humble service belongs to us all. So I invite you to sit in quiet for a moment to hear the yearnings and the prayers of your own hearts.
Our generosity sustains this congregation and allows us to deepen spiritually, to take care of one another, and to be a blessing to the world. We can't make church without all of us. There is a QR code on the back page of your order of service if you would like to donate through PayPal. The morning offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Teresa Soto is a colleague whose words I turn to often when my imaginator is broken. She writes, "Can we develop the skill of remembering the future? Can we memorize the compass points of the day yet to come? The truth, the love, the fire, the endless yes of the horizon. Shake the scales from your imagination, rise, stretch, reach. There is no more time for pretending that everything can be all right without your care, without your attention." A member of the congregation and I were in my office a couple weeks ago, and after our church work was done, we got to worrying about the state of the country and the fact that things are not going as well as hoped. The devastation of the overturning of Roe v. Wade, the continued bitter, divisive partisanship in which people on all sides dehumanize each other so easily, the fear that our democracy is truly faltering and more fragile than either of us ever imagined, the rising cost of heating oil and how that's going to hurt people who are financially struggling. Not that it is cold enough to turn on the heat, which on the one hand is lovely, and on the other hand is deeply unnerving. So I confess that I had turned off my car radio set to NPR back in 2016, and I have not turned it back on again. And I look at the headlines of the New York Times every morning, and if the headline makes my heart sink, I don't read the article. I further confess that I have trouble imagining how our country is going to heal from this. How do we heal the fractures in the foundation of a country? How deep do they go? And if people can't agree on what is broken, how do we even begin to mend it? I can't imagine it, I said. I cannot imagine it. The person in my office said, "That is not a good sermon." "I wouldn't preach that one," she said. We laughed and she pointed to the diploma on my wall and said, "You are a doctor of hope, after all." And for those who don't know this about me, I have a doctorate from MIT. It is fake, of course. I don't know how to turn on the television by myself, much less earn a doctorate from MIT. But my beloved once worked for the printing company that made the MIT diplomas, the real ones, and apparently he kept a couple of them. And a few years ago, he awarded me one right here, and it is in rocket science for my imaginary original research demonstrated by my thesis in finding hope in the universe. So I am a doctor of hope. A doctor of hope who sometimes has trouble imagining the way that we are going to get to that other, better world, which I do believe in, but I don't know how we get there. I don't know how to remember the future, as Teresa Soto puts it. I don't know how to memorize the compass points of the day yet to come, to embrace the endless yes of the horizon. So the church member and I sat in a sad sort of quiet for a little while, just like Hoot and Olive in the story. And then she said, "I know what you need to do." You need to tell the story about those Blasket Island women and the seaweed again. You need to hear that story. She was right, of course. I do need to hear that story again, and maybe you do too, but even more, I needed the reminder that hope is not a solitary practice. I don't think any of us, even doctors of hope, can hold hope all the time. And that is one of the reasons we are here, so that we can hold it for each other. So here's the story of the women of Blasket Island. Alan and I went to Ireland for our honeymoon now 4.5 years ago. It was my first trip to Ireland. I fell in love with all of it, with the stone walls and the fields, with Dublin, with the island of Inishmore and the cows and the music and the pubs and the warmth of the people, everything. Now between us we have 0% Irish heritage. I was hoping that my hair color would kind of grandmother me in. And truly, I've said this before, I've never seen so many red-haired people in my entire life. And 2 people did ask me what county I was from before I spoke, which I took as a great honor. So we also had this incredible un-Irish weather. It was a drought, which was bad for the country, but it meant that there were clear blue skies, sunshine, and temperatures in the low 80s for days on end. There was a run on summer clothes, and you couldn't buy sunscreen anywhere. It was completely sold out. And everybody was walking around just in this kind of joyful sunburned daze. So of all the beautiful places we visited, and there were very many, my favorite was the Blasket Center, which is a museum on the very, very tip of the Dingle Peninsula, which is on the western edge of Ireland, facing into the North Atlantic Ocean. And the Dingle Peninsula is spare and rocky and hilly and rugged, with 500,000 sheep grazing in these small stone fence bordered fields on the hillside. There's a road through Dunstable that looks a little bit like the Dingle Peninsula to me. So 3 miles off the coast of this isolated, rugged corner of Ireland, there are a series of tiny, impossibly isolated islands called the Blasket Islands. And the largest of these, called Great Blasket, was inhabited from time immemorial until the year 1953, when the last islanders were evacuated back to the mainland, not by their choice, but because the seas had grown rougher over the centuries, and it was no longer possible to provide any emergency services to the island, so the Irish government made people relocate. And there were 22 Great Blasket Islanders left living on that island, and some of them ended up in Springfield, Massachusetts, of all places. The Blasket Center is a museum, and it's dedicated to the history and the people of Great Blasket. And the museum itself is so simple and beautiful. It's all glass and wood. It faces the sea, and the building is in the shape of these traditional long, narrow boats the islanders used for fishing. So we went to the Blasket Center on the one gray, rainy day we had in the 2 weeks we were there. So I got the tiniest little taste of what all those words that people use to describe Irish weather, words like bleak and melancholy, actually mean. Now the story of the people of the Blasket Islands is fascinating. Because of its isolation, the Irish spoken on the island was a pure and old form of the language, completely uncorrupted by the English spoken throughout much of the mainland. In the early 20th century, this linguistic purity attracted scholars from throughout Europe, and they came to the island to study the language. And they, in turn, encouraged the islanders to record their history, to record their way of life. And the result was several books written by several different islanders who all turned out to be these beautiful writers and storytellers who wrote about the daily rhythms of life in this isolated place. And the community who depended upon each other for survival, and the tenacity of ordinary people who lived 3 miles out to sea where there were no doctors, no churches, no stores, no restaurants, and almost everything they needed they made or grew or fattened. Now, like on most other parts of the Dingle Peninsula, the land itself was just this rock-strewn clay, and you couldn't grow anything in it. It had to be cleared slowly by the people who lived there. The rocks built into those stone border walls around those fields, which became sheep pastures. And there are miles of these walls, kind of like a patchwork quilt. And once a patch of land was cleared, the women of Blasket Island gathered seaweed from the shore, and they dragged it up from the shore in huge baskets. And they laid the seaweed over that cleared land, layer by layer. The seaweed slowly decomposing, adding nutrients to the soil. And they did this over and over again, basket by basket by basket, until eventually they created fertile enough soil in which they could grow potatoes and a few other vegetables. And here's the thing, they did this for generations. These women fed the land with seaweed their entire lives, and then their children did it after them. This was what the church member in my office remembered and gave back to me as a gift. The story of that courage and tenacity, but also the story of that imagination and hope. The women of Blasket Island imagined soil in which potatoes and cabbages and carrots could grow in the place of that rock-covered clay. They imagined food in that barren soil, and then they created it. They made the way out of no way. And I remember that is what hope looks like. That is what it means to care and pay attention. That is what it means to get up in the morning and to do what needs to be done to create the world we dream of, the world we want our children's children to live in. But none of us can do it alone. Everything starts small. But together and with love, it will grow. So will you rise as able, and let's sing together our closing hymn, which is Call Down a Blessing, and Lisa and Sean will lead us.
Call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down a blessing, call down.
And with